Consumption of food is key to nearly everything. So I hope over the course of this semester that perspective will not sound so novel to you after a while. But tonight I want to look at food's centrality in our world from one particular angle, one of particular interest to me. And my central premise is going to be that eating is, among other things, an ecological act. That when you eat a Big Mac, and I've brought one for whoever asked the first question, or a Suncrest peach or a free-range egg, these are radically different ways of engaging with the natural world. The collective weight of all those individual eating decisions that you are making 3 times a day produces one kind of agriculture or another, and that, to a considerable extent, produces one kind of nature or another. Let me explain what I mean. Eating comprises our most important, most powerful engagement with the land and other species. Now, that's a big claim, but consider, it's agriculture that has shaped the landscape more than anything else humans do. When you look around the world and see whether a landscape is deforested, desertified, grassed, or tilled, that owes to agriculture, which is eating. Agriculture has reshaped the composition of species. Agriculture largely determines which species of animals, plants, and microbes and insects thrive and which ones are under attack. So, for example, agriculture is the reason that in this country we're well north of 110 million head of cattle and only 50,000 wolves. Wolves eat cattle. We eat cattle. So we killed wolves, and we've allowed cattle to dominate the landscape in many parts of the country. Agriculture has also altered the chemistry of the water, the soil, and the atmosphere, not just by way of pollution, but by fundamentally altering the nitrogen cycle and the carbon cycle, okay? 2 of the most powerful ecological systems that we have. Half of the nitrogen in the world's soil and water today used to be in the atmosphere. It was fixed by a process I'll tell you about to be turned into fertilizer and added to the land. And a third of the carbon in the atmosphere right now that we're so concerned about was once in the soil, locked up in the soil, not as fossil fuel, not as oil and coal, but as organic matter in the soil. And that was released, by and large, through tilling and fertilizing. So tilling, the plow, and fertilizer, those 2 tools, those 2 technologies have completely revolutionized the carbon and nitrogen cycle. But this is not just agriculture doing its thing. This is us doing our thing. This is us eating 3 times a day. Wendell Berry, do you guys all know who Wendell Berry is? Yeah? Okay, well, Wendell Berry, who you should read, because he really is the germ. He began this conversation that you're hearing now about food, rethinking food and agriculture, and he began it back in the 70s. He really started this conversation that you will be joining this semester. He wrote, "Eating is inescapably an agricultural act, and how we eat determines to a considerable extent how the world gets used." Now, these links between our eating, our agriculture, and how the world gets used is something actually once everybody knew. Everybody understood. We were once a lot closer to these processes. Your ancestors were a lot